Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily astrology report for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. And the moon is moving from Pisces into Aries today. So if we've been feeling a little lost, just kind of diffused and dissolved into everything else around us, just rest assured today that when the moon comes into Aries, we are going to feel really strong drive to start actualizing ourselves and who we are. And with the moon in Aries, of course, there's always the potential for, flared tempers, hot emotions, and action, and when we're talking about action, it's really going to be motivated by feelings at this point. And so when the moon comes, you can see here, is going to meet up with Chiron today. That action is going to be a lot about asserting ourselves, either through this victim savior wound that we all are dealing with right now, or if we are coming at this with some intention and some awareness, we could also really use this energy today to actualize ourselves in a transcendent fashion outside of this dichotomy of victim and savior, and really experience some healing. Now, before this happens, the moon will be in Pisces and will make a sextile to Saturn in Capricorn. At the end of Pisces, this is where a lot of the diffusion comes from, and the dissolution, because you're reaching the end of the cycle. Everything is kind of decaying back into the source field. Everything is dissolving in. And when talking about the moon, this is our own internal waters. And so that there are no boundaries at this point. We have dissolved our boundaries and we just are merging with the collective unconscious. And so it's easy to feel lost. It's easy to feel like we're losing power and a sense of self. I mean, there's a lot of dreaminess and inspiration that comes in, and this is where real compassion can be fostered, of course, because we are actually making real empathic connections to other people and their experiences, and that really fosters a lot of compassion. But it also leaves us feeling kind of like, well, who am I and what's going on? And Pisces and the 12th house too is and Neptune, all of it is propaganda as well. This is the realm where, without a really strong resolve, without a sense of where our real divine spark actually is, it's very easy to get caught up in other people's conceptions of reality and really fall into a state of victimhood or just kind of psychosis. It has a really strong potential in Pisces, especially a moon, because we're talking about how we feel and our intuition and the messages that are coming through. And they will be very strong because Mercury is still in this trine to Neptune in Pisces, Mercury in Scorpio. So when we're getting to the end of Pisces, though, the thing is that the energy starts to differentiate. It's starting to prepare for the consolidation into the seed point that represents the beginning of Aries. And we can start to feel that. And when the moon makes the sextile to Saturn in Capricorn, which is very structured, it's all form, it's all boundary, it's all, the pattern of the matrix, right? Manifestation, matter. It is the creation of matter, and more like the transfiguration of matter in Capricorn. If at this point in Pisces, late Pisces, everything you need, everything that you've accumulated, everything that has come along with you is about to be consolidated into a single point and brought into the next cycle. So everything you need is already here now. And so with the moon in this sextile to Saturn, which is in Capricorn, in late Capricorn, if we can recognize the form and the structure and what that really does, the real freedom that comes from Capricorn is not the structures themselves, but the fact that the structure allows us to experience experience our connection to nature and to life through that form. And so Saturn is at this position where it's characterized as a large aviary, and it's a definitive structure as an aviary, but within it, the birds are in their own, in a habitat, and they're moving around freely. And it represents the fact that these structures, these institutions that we collectively create as a result of our values and our belief systems, the culture that comes about as a result of these values and belief systems, they can provide a containment for the free movement of these transcendent thoughts and notions and all of these inner voices. And so the sextile comes from the idea that we can find everything we need within this framework of what we are creating together. Now, not everything is being created. In fact, Pluto in Capricorn, so close to Saturn still, is also just stripping away every single piece of code of this matrix that is going away. And so it's there, but there is something there with Saturn. It's certainly solidifying some aspect of it. And so the moon at the very end of Pisces is saying that we're about to emotionally come into a new cycle and a new initiation, a birth, rebirth, and consolidating everything into this moment. But we don't have to completely consolidate everything. If we can recognize the power and the structure from what we creatively create within the systems that we want to be in, that we want to participate in, then we have everything that we need, and we can bring that into the next cycle with us. And it's going to be hot and fiery, right? We're going to meet Chiron, and so there's that actualization. We're going to feel really strongly about asserting ourselves through this victim savior wound aspect. And if we are not conscious of it, if we're not aware of it, if we are not even acknowledging we have a wound to deal with, then yeah, this is going to have us feeling really just like, I need to act out of this. If we are aware and we're consciously creating and we are using every transit as an opportunity, this can be an incredible healing moment. This can be a moment where we see very clearly how we're acting out of our wounds, and maybe maybe making a choice to do something different in that moment. So there's a lot of options here, but the overall theme is that we are going to be really feeling a sense of action and desire to be ourselves and to assert who we are, especially how strongly we feel. The moon is going to trine the sun at 3 degrees Sagittarius. This is an incredible trine because, number one, 3 degrees of anything is an incredibly balanced, harmonious position. This is when the two that represents the differentiation, that is the beginning of a cycle. This is the first moment of harmonization and balance. So at 3 degrees Sagittarius, the sun is characterized by the symbol of two men playing chess. It is the ritualization of conflict. Now, Sagittarius is the friction of the fire. It's the friction that creates the fire that is the catalyst for the alchemy. This is why it's the opposite of Gemini. Gemini, there is no friction because they exist at the same time. The two opposite poles exist at the same time. The friction comes from Sagittarius because we are synthesizing our ideas in order to create something new. But before you get to that, you have to acknowledge that the synthesis is a ritualized, it's a game. It's a game of chess. And the trine to this moon in Aries today at the same 3 degrees, but in Aries, is identifying ourselves with a greater life. 1 degree of Aries is the subjective rising out of the ocean of consciousness. The 2nd degree of Aries is the objective experience that is provided by the mirror image. In order for us to have an objective or a subjective experience as us, there has to be an objective experience of us. it's implicit in the duality. 3 degrees is when we identify ourselves with the world outside of us and make a choice to participate in a greater life that is us engaging with the world outside of us. These two things trine, right, are there is an incredible moment here to recognize that everything that is unfolding in our life is really just part of the game. And we can feel, we can decide which team we're going to be part of, and we're going to identify ourselves very strongly with that team. And as long as we understand that the game, the game, as long as we understand and we're expressing ourselves through the game, we can feel individually what team we want to identify ourselves with. And this is going to be very balanced today. This is incredible. I feel like we're going to really see a shift in the dynamic that has been happening, because it's kind of been, like I said, a little like diffused and dissolved and kind of really amorphous for the last couple of days. What else is going on? Oh yeah, the moon's going to meet Chiron. The moon is also in a quincunx to Venus, now in Scorpio. So Aries and Scorpio, quincunx, they don't fit together, which is interesting because they both used to be ruled by Mars, Scorpio and Aries, before Pluto was discovered. So there's desire with both of them, but from completely different places, right? Aries is desire for ourselves, our egos, the subjective I am, and Scorpio is desire to merge with another. These do not fit at all, And so you can again see where the quincunx will come with the moon really stimulating within us the feeling of wanting to actualize and express our individual experience. And Venus, the goddess of love, in Scorpio, really starting to get a deeper yearning to merge with others, to find the warmth and the value and the feeling in that relationship. And there's gonna be a need for an adjustment here, because we can't necessarily, especially the two feminine aspects, the moon and then Venus. They have different agendas in this moment, and we're going to have to resolve that by finding an adjustment here, because these things are not going to fit together at all. And there is a lot of there's a lot of stability here in the symbolism that we collectively focus on. That is a big part of the Scorpio archetype, is symbolism. So, and there's a lot of inertia when those symbols have been engaged with over and over and over, to the point where we think they're real, and they're just symbols, but they do have value and power. So it's not that those symbols don't hold any weight. It's just that it's really just a matter of what we collectively focus on together that gives those symbols power. They in themselves don't have the power until we give them the power. And with Venus, it becomes very palpable. It is in our relationships, and it's in our material life. And Venus is at her detriment in Scorpio. This is a hard placement for her. She does not like to sink down into the bottom and investigate these deeper structures, because it makes her uncomfortable, and she does not like to be uncomfortable. Whereas the moon is just going to be like, yes, I am polarizing my consciousness. I got desire to actualize myself. I am feeling so activated, and she's going to be in a different place about it entirely. So a little bit of adjustment today, but with the moon and the sun in that fire trine today, wow, we are really going to identify, like I said, we're going to identify which team we're on, who we're identified with. It's going to become part of our profile, and it's going to be a big part of this ritualized game that we are seeing played out in front of us. And it's going to really impact the way that we each actualize ourselves as this, new cycle starts to unfold with the moon in Aries. So yeah, a lot of new energy today. So that is the daily. If you find this content helpful or interesting at all, please consider subscribing to the channel. Definitely hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm get this content out to a larger audience. If you find it helpful, then other people are likely going to find it helpful. Everything else you need is in the description box below. Social media, I do live on Facebook every morning. I do an intuitive reading that acts as an addendum to this information, and then email, and then the website if you're interested in booking readings or energy work. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to see you on the next video.